always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Thank you for tuning in to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Patrick Kennedy. I just wanted to say, before I get started, it is allergy season, and even though I have taken my meds, they are still acting up. So I'm going to do my best to get through this without being a sniffling mess. So apologies in advance if you do hear any of that. Quite a week we've had in pop culture and entertainment news. I've got some good stories to share today. While there has been some drama in the headlines, my personal life has been a lot more mellow. I finished my finals at the end of last week, which has freed up so much of my time. It is such a good feeling to have accomplished my first year of school, and I am so glad to have a break until August. As I mentioned, there is a lot to go over in today's show, such as daytime's most recognizable face deciding to call it quits after 19 seasons, some serious allegations surrounding MTV's show Are You the One?, Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian's PDA and his salty ex-wife, followed by Patrick's pop culture pick, the return of MTV's The Hills. So, since doing this show, I have realized that I'm talking about a lot of stories that are continuing to develop after the episode. And as I'm seeing the updates, I want to share them with you guys. So at the top of each show going forward, if there's something I feel is worth mentioning, I'm just going to briefly run over it. And with that said, I do have a few things for this episode. Starting with Josh Duggar. I made it pretty clear on how I felt about him wanting to be released while he awaits trial for his charges with child pornography, and stated that I thought it was a bad idea to release him while he awaits trial. However, it appears that he was. A federal judge allowed former reality TV star Josh Duggar to be released as he awaits trial on charges that he downloaded and possessed child pornography. Judge Christy Comstock ordered Duggar, 33, confined to the home of family and friends who have agreed to be his custodian during his release, and prohibited Duggar from any internet-accessible devices pending his July 6th trial. So, I guess, they came to an agreement where he can await trial at home. Again, I don't agree with that, but hopefully nothing happens. It is pretty baffling, though, especially, after a Homeland Security agent that testified in this case said that Josh Duggar's computer was in the top 5 of the worst that they've ever had to examine. So, pretty wild. Our next update is about Floyd Mayweather and Logan and Jake Paul. Floyd Mayweather filed a lawsuit last week for a whopping $120 million against a company his team was working with to have the fight in Dubai. And apparently this other company dropped the ball on this. So now he's wanting them to pay up, as if he needs any more money. Then Logan and Jake Paul are under investigation after driving on a beach during turtle nesting season. Puerto Rico has opened an investigation on the Paul brothers to see if there was any wrongdoing after videos of them driving on a beach surfaced. The branch government responsible for protecting Puerto Rico's natural and environmental resources have responded to a wave of outrage targeted at Jake and Logan. Sea turtles are federally protected animals, and the country has many restrictions on some beaches in Puerto Rico during nesting season. So in short, they could have potentially driven over baby turtles, putting them even higher on my crap list. And I say crap for the sake of being PG. All right, our last update I wanted to share is Jeopardy's Tournament of Champions competition will kick off on Monday. The event, which was traditionally hosted by the late Alex Trebek, will still be a familiar face taking over hosting duties. As the official Jeopardy website announced, former Tournament of Champions winner Buzzy Cohen will host the 2-week-long competition. As the show noted, Cohen was given the nickname Mr. Personality by Trebek. He originally appeared on the program in 2016, winning $164,000 over the course of his 9 appearances. He would go on to compete and win the 2017 Tournament of Champions. He also returned to Jeopardy in 2019 when he competed in the All-Stars Games, during which he served as a team captain. Jeopardy noted that Cohen will no longer be able to compete on the program as a contestant if another tournament arises, as being a guest host makes him ineligible to play. All right. Now, getting into our first official story of this episode. I think this is one of the bigger headlines this last week, and certainly on today's show. Ellen DeGeneres has decided to end her daytime talk show after 19 seasons. The decision, which fell to DeGeneres, is said to have been several years in the making. She informed her staff May 11th and was sat down with pal and daytime predecessor Oprah Winfrey to discuss the news on May 13th show. Ellen is claiming that she is ending the show because she needs something new to challenge her. However, this past year has not been without controversy. On the heels of a series of personal swipes that DeGeneres says destroyed her, came allegations of a toxic workplace. The latter, which DeGeneres says she learned about through the press, prompted an internal investigation and the dismissal of key executives. The host, who's built her brand on the motto, "Be Kind," opened her season 18 in September with a lengthy apology, telling viewers, quote, "I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously. And I want to say I am so sorry to the people who I have affected." It was the highest viewed premiere in the history of her show. Viewership quickly tumbled, even as Hollywood's A-list remained loyal guests. Although Ellen is saying that the show is not related to these allegations, I did want to discuss what those allegations were. Numerous staff members, both currently and previously employed by the show, made allegations of sexual misconduct, racism, and bullying taking place. DeGeneres was also at the center of an unverified allegations about her off-camera behavior, from demanding that people should not look her in the eye to having a real-life personality that seemed to clash with her on-camera persona. So, pretty wild accusations. It's hard to know if these are simply accusations or if they are true. In an interview response to all of this, Ellen said, quote, "It almost impacted the show. It was very harmful to me. I mean, very. But if I was quitting the show because of that, I wouldn't have come back this season." So it's not why I'm stopping, but it was hard because I was sitting home, it was summer, and I see a story that people have have to chew gum before they talk to me. And I'm like, okay, this is hilarious. Then I see another story of some other ridiculous thing, and then it just didn't stop. And I wasn't working, so I had no platform, and I didn't want to address it on Twitter. And I thought, if I just don't address it, it's going to go away because it was all so stupid, end quote. Employees of the show have a very different narrative and are expressing their opinion. Former employees of The Ellen Show say they're glad the once beloved pillar of daytime television taking her show off the air, the ultimate consequence of being the face and leader of a TV show where they say misconduct ran rampant behind the scenes for years. And another employee said, I think this is the consequence culture. People are like cancel culture, but no, this is a consequence of somebody and an institution that got away with fostering a super unhealthy and toxic work environment for a really long time. Another employee said, I think they did all the right things to make it look like they were making changes. They fired some people, they gave an executive producer position because they didn't have a lot of diversity, and they made it look like they did all the right things, but it still wasn't enough. It all comes out in the wash at the end, and you realize this is really what she deserves and what the show deserves. Wow. These continue with another employee saying, you know, if The Ellen Show was maintaining its popularity with viewers, it would be hard for DeGeneres and Warner Bros. To walk away. Quote, if the ratings were still phenomenal, if her ratings were wonderful and none of this came out about the show, why wouldn't she sign off for another 5 years like Oprah and do 25 years? The former employee said if none of this came out, she'd still be going strong, laughing all the way to the bank and getting the daily applause. Another employee took up an issue with the way DeGeneres addressed the allegations of sexual misconduct, racism, and intimidation in the workplace, calling her response tone deaf and making it all about her. According to the former employee, the way DeGeneres continues to dismiss the allegations, despite the fact that 3 top producers were fired from the show after Warner Media launched a third-party investigation, lacks humility, and doesn't take any kind of responsibility for the fact that this happened under her umbrella. You have $1 billion in your bank account. It didn't hurt you that deeply. This hurt other people's livelihoods, working people who are taking care of their families and who don't have the time and the fame and power to and money that she has. So the former employee added, she wants to move the hell on and get away from all the ugliness, but also calling the allegation stupid does not show any sense of seriousness that you actually got it. It's insulting and degrading to multiple people who have suffered for years. Wow. So there's just account after account of these employees speaking out against this, and it sounds like they have been putting up with this for so many years. So that's awful. As for The Ellen Show's legacy, the former employee said that they're relived the reports about the inner workings of what went on and behind the scenes, and all of that becoming public has kind of been an effort to make DeGeneres and other executives accountable. She said, quote, the truth came out. I'm glad it finally came out. She's going down with a stain on her name. That whole show is just going down with the truth. So my personal opinion, I've been in toxic workplaces more than once in my life, and I know the feeling of not feeling like you can speak out against those above you, or like you are stuck in a role because you are fearful of what would happen if you did speak out, and not only that, leaving a job on the fly with no notice and just throwing your hands up and walking out leaves you without something lined up and potentially being out of finances. In my particular experience, I was put in a place where my mental health became more important than staying another minute employed. Of course, I wasn't an employee of a high-profile individual running a daytime television show, but I still felt that I put up with more than I should have for the sake of being scared and wanting to keep my job. So with that said, I can see why this would take years for employees to finally come out with this. And frankly, I'm leaning on the side of the employee's experience. Perhaps this is just based off of my personal experience. But not only that, I know, some people that are friends of people in the industry that have worked for this show and kind of, agreed that this was kind of the workplace environment there. So, that just adds to it for me personally. I know Ellen has done a lot of good too. And I do think it's highly possible, though, that she was deeply disconnected from the ongoings behind the scenes behind her show, and that, quite frankly, she may not have really cared about it. I do, in fact, have, some sympathy, as I did mention, that she has done some good. There's a lot of charitable things that she's done on the show. So it, and also it was a huge part of my television upbringing. I laughed at the show, cried, and at one time I was a fairly religious fan of this show. So it is a bit sad in that regard, but either way, 19 seasons is a great run for her. So she did announce the departure at the end of last week's, and there are some mixed feelings about it. So you'll have to kind of tune in and watch the video on that and see what you think. Again, a great run for her, and I wish her success in the future, and I do hope that all of these allegations of these employees get cleared up and that they are able to move forward with their careers. All right, that will wrap up our first segment. We are going to move into our first break, but please stick around because later in the show, I will be talking about the return of MTV's The Hills. Stay tuned.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's gsmcpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. In our last segment, I talked about Ellen announcing the end of her talk show after 19 seasons. I detailed why she claimed she is ending the show, which she said it was due to her wanting to do something new. However, you may have seen in the news the last few months that many employees had come forward stating that it was an extremely toxic workplace, including sexual harassment allegations, There were also executives that were fired due to this, and a full internal investigation was initiated. I went into some of the employee statements and their claims as well, and in my opinion, it sounds like it was definitely a toxic environment. In Ellen's discussion with Oprah and the Today Show, she seemed to discredit the allegations, calling them coordinated, which was not a very good look, personally. And from what I can see, a lot of news sources agree. All right, moving into our next story, and I just wanted to preface that this one does touch on sexual assault and racism. Sadly, a lot of stories these days seem to have something like this in them. And as I always try to say, if this is something that might be triggering to you, I recommend skipping ahead to the next segment at about the 45-minute mark. All right. MTV's Are You the One has some major allegations against them by a former cast member. Gianna Hammer alleges she was drugged and sexually assaulted while on the show. MTV has since pulled Hammer's season of the hit dating show from all streaming platforms. She has come forward with allegations that she was sexually assaulted by a fellow cast member and drugged by production. Hammer, who is 25, alleges that a fellow cast member whom she did not name sexually assaulted her while shooting the television program in the Dominican Republic in 2016. She claims that several other cast members intervened and pulled her out of bed, but instead of firing the alleged assaulter, Hammer claims producers from Lighthearted Entertainment allegedly convinced her that the person who had done this should stay, having him sleep on the couch and forbidding them both from drinking alcohol for the remainder of filming. In retrospect, she said to a source, she felt disrespected by the show's lack of regard, saying, quote, "I guess I really thought about it and was like, wow, that was really effed up. They should have never let me in an unsafe position. I'm definitely a changed person after it all." She also said that she was taking Zoloft during production and was told she wasn't supposed to mix the medication with alcohol. Hammer claims that she was given her Zoloft first thing in the morning under the direction that it wouldn't really affect her later in the night. She also stated that she woke up in the morning after the alleged assault and couldn't really remember anything. She claims that producers told her that nothing happened. MTV has paused production on the forthcoming season of Are You the One to investigate Hammer's allegations. They said, quote, "We take these issues very seriously and have paused production and casting to conduct an independent investigation into the allegations. The third-party production company and further review our internal safety protocols," said a spokesperson. Since these allegations, MTV has also pulled the season from streaming platforms. Lighthearted Entertainment has denied Hammer's allegations, but said it will, quote, "cooperate with full transparency with any investigation. We are confident that any review will confirm the safety protocols that we have long had in place on the sets of Are You the One." The company also said, "We deny the allegations made by the former contestant. Throughout the 8 seasons of the show, no contestant has reported an incident of sexual assault to Lighthearted. The production company currently has a casting call for Are You the One still going. So, I mean, these allegations are very serious, and if production had any hand in this, I think it could put MTV in very hot water too. As if these allegations are not bad enough, there are other stories coming out from other cast members. Some season 5 cast members allege a racist act and a sexual assault were covered up, and the game was rigged by producers so that no one would win prize money. So to give you a bit more clarity, if you don't watch, sorry for not mentioning this sooner, the contestants go in single and are matched with each other with some sort of compatibility metrics that we have no idea if they are real or not, or what traits are used to match them, and the couples or the singles don't know either. So throughout their time in the house on the show, they have to get to know each other to find out who their match is. And in the end, basically, if they all end up picking their one or their match, they win, I believe, $1 million to split between the entire cast. So, back to the other cast members' accounts, there were a couple of them that are standing with Gianna Hammer and saying they witnessed production give her a pill to take while she was drinking. So, yikes. As if that's not bad enough, and as I briefly mentioned, there are also racism allegations. The former contestants claimed production also covered up an alleged racist incident where Carolina Duarte, who was white, repeatedly said the N-word in the face of a black cast member named Derek Henry. He said, quote, "I'm black and I take that very offensively. We were livid that we were so disrespected like that. They did nothing. They just made us be quiet, not talk about it. They were like, oh, she didn't mean it," end quote. Now, the girl that said those things apparently admitted that she used the slur once around Derek, but not multiple times. She claimed the incident occurred when she was very intoxicated and trying to climb up into the bunk beds. Derek allegedly attempted to help her and touched her backside, and she said, "Get off me," racial slur. She says, "I don't know why I said that, but where I grew up at that time, we would call our friends," racial slur, "and I'm guessing that's why I said it," end quote. She also continued to say it was stupid and I obviously was very intoxicated, so I didn't think it through. I replaced the actual word with the words racial slur, as I will not be saying it on this show. And I'm sorry, but blaming your racism on being intoxicated doesn't fly with me, and this should have been grounds to have her off of the show, as well as these sexual allegations. This whole production should have been fully shut down and should be completely shut down going forward unless they can make some very serious corrections. And if MTV doesn't take this seriously, then shame on them. There were also some claims from contestants regarding the prize money that I mentioned that's given out at the end. So season 5 ended with no prize money being given out, and the contestants are convinced it was rigged that way, saying that, quote, "We were pulled onto the show under the notion that we were in contention for an extreme amount of money. The show was completely and totally fixed. They turned around and they made us lose." Not only that, when people sign up to do these shows, they are signed on to be paid a certain amount of money. The cast was set to receive $2,400 each for the time filming the show. However, production would allegedly deduct money if the stars did not follow certain rules or suggestions. A cast member said, quote, "They held that money over our head at all times." Jalen Adam also said that was really kind of like, you essentially better listen to us or else we'll take your money, which happened to a lot of people. I mean, this whole production just sounds like a complete mess. This is the first time this is not the first time that MTV has had a show with allegations like this. This competition show, The Challenge, has also had some pretty disturbing stories. The show also includes social and emotional issues that have led to many arguments and fights, some even physical. And due to some of these fights crossing the line, there are a handful of former players who have been banned from participating in a season of The Challenge ever again. To kind of give you an example of those, there was a contestant, Camila Nakagawa, who is banned from the show due to her many drunken incidents throughout several seasons. Apparently, a production assistant told Camila to get ready for an interview during the Challenge Champs vs. Stars, and while she was in a drunken state, she punched the PA in the face, stole a golf cart, and tried to drive into traffic. So, rightly so that she's not allowed back. Secondly, Dee Nguyen was also a contestant, and MTV and The Challenge decided to fire former player Dee following comments she made about the Black Lives Matter movement. In a public statement, MTV executives confirmed they had severed ties with Dee, who received backlash from social media users over her comments on Twitter about BLM. The issues started when Dee tweeted, "I don't know why some of you think I'm anti-BLM. I've been saying that since the day I lost my virginity," end quote. Interesting. MTV banned Dee from The Challenge and tweeted, "As a result of Dee Nguyen's offensive comments on the Black Lives Matter movement, we have severed ties with her. Out of respect for our challengers, we'll air our season as planned. We strongly condemn systemic racism and stand with those raising their voices against injustice." Yeah, rightly so. Toodles Dee. Finally, and this one I'll say is the most disturbing of all, cast members Kenny Santucci, Evan Starkman, and Tanya Cooley are no longer allowed back. The story of what happened to Kenny, Evan, and Tanya is, like I said, one of the more serious and uncomfortable stories in relation to The Challenge. Tanya alleged that she was raped by castmates Kenny and Evan. The lawsuit Tanya filed against MTV was settled out of court, but details on the deal have never been made public. Although the settlement remains unknown, MTV's parent company Viacom had initially responded to Tanya's allegations by claiming that she had failed to avoid the injuries of which she complains. She was frequently intoxicated, rowdy, combative, flirtatious, and on multiple occasions intentionally exposed her bare breasts and genitalia to other contestants. Wow. So these are all very, troubling allegations, and with all that, MTV had better be taking much more serious precautions when filming these shows. These are various serious things that are being said, and, multiple accounts at this point. As much as I love my MTV, I do not love any of the aforementioned, and I hope that this is taken very seriously. All right, we are going to head into our second break, but when we come back, I will be talking about Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian, followed by Patrick's pop culture pick, The Hills. Stick around.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back. It's the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. In our last segment, I discussed the recent allegations of a former cast member of MTV's dating show, Are You the One? She is claiming that producers gave her medication that should definitely not be mixed with alcohol and told her she would be fine. She then proceeded to drink and woke up to one of the other male cast members in bed with her, and she was being sexually assaulted. When she expressed what happened, she claims that production and some of the other cast members convinced her to let him stay in the house and finish the season. There were also some claims of racism during the show, as well as producers taking money from the amount the cast members were supposed to be paid, and also rigging the show so that they would not win the prize money at the end. I also touched on the show The Challenge, which is also on MTV. They have also had some pretty serious things happen on that show, such as rape and race allegations. Okay, moving along into our next story. From friends to much, much more, Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian are most definitely in a new relationship, judging off of all of the PDA we have seen on their social media pages. Here is a little timeline of how it started. October 20th, 2015, Travis confesses that he definitely had a crush on Kourtney's younger sister, Kim Kardashian, back in 2006. Despite dating Kim's employer, who was hotel heiress Paris Hilton, Travis says he couldn't keep his eyes off of her, which is now a little bit awkward, I'm sure. And then in January, the 21st of 2021, Kourtney posts a very racy picture on Instagram, and Travis fawns over it in the comments, giving her the virtual equivalent of a red rose. Suspicions about their relationship start to arise. And Travis also posts a daytime pic of a poolside view, which makes people wonder if him and Kourtney are dating, because she also posted a photo of the same poolside view. Then in January, again, the 24th of 2021, Us Weekly dropped the news that Travis and Kourtney are indeed dating, and that they have been close friends for years and have been dating for a couple of months. Travis is very smitten with Kourtney and has been for a while. February 2nd, 2021, Kourt reveals that someone in her life went through the trouble of cropping her bikini-clad body into a lock screen photo. And although it's pretty believable that Kourt would have her own body as her lock screen, she makes a point to note, P.S. This lock screen does not belong to me. February 10th, 2021, Kourtney and Travis go out for dinner in Los Angeles, and they have been packing on the PDA. A source says they seemed completely taken with one another, as if they were the only two people in the world. They seemed very connected and very close. Travis took her hand and they giggled as they started having a little thumb war with one another. It was playful and sweet. They were talking constantly and very engaged in one another. It seems like such a natural fit, being that they have been friends for so long. There was no awkwardness. February 17th, 2021, Kourtney and Travis take the next major step in their relationship by going Instagram official. Kourtney posts a pic of her holding Travis's hand to her feed, and Travis signals his love and approval with a little black heart emoji in the comments. February 20th, 2021, Travis posts a note that Kourtney left him to his Instagram stories, which reads, "To lots of fun adventures, may we destroy each other completely. Love, Kourtney." A few days earlier, Travis had posted, "May we destroy each other completely," to his Twitter account. March 2nd, 2021, a source gets Scott Disick's POV on how he's feeling about Kourtney and Travis's relationship. In short, Scott is chilling and doesn't think Kourtney will be pushing him out of her life anytime soon. Scott knows he always has a very special place in Kourtney's heart and that he can't ever be replaced and will always be in the picture since he's the father of their children. He isn't threatened by Kourtney and Travis's relationship at this point. March 22nd, 2021, Travis and Kourt have evolved to the stage in their relationship where they're exchanging I love yous. Kourtney writes a handwritten note to Travis with these 3 special words, which he later posts to his Instagram stories. March 29th, 2021, pandemic be damned. Travis and Kourtney attend a UFC game in Las Vegas and are seen in the VIP section engaging in some very interesting PDA. And there's a video of that if you'd like to go online and see that. Moving on. April 3rd, 2021. Big relationship milestone here. Travis and Kourtney take a trip to Utah to go snowboarding, and their entire family tags along. Fans learn that Travis and Kourtney's kids are with them when Alabama Barker, which is Travis's 15-year-old daughter, posts a Pass the Phone TikTok challenge video featuring her older sister and brother, Atiana De La Hoya and Landon Barker, as well as Penelope, Mason, and Rain Disick, who are Kourtney's children. April 9th, 2021, another big relationship milestone happening, this time courtesy of Travis. Travis is spotted on the set of a new music video with Kourtney's name tattooed over his heart. Meanwhile, Kourtney and Travis are being very flirty, I guess you could say, on Instagram. Kourt posted a photo with the caption, "Watching movies, but we ain't seen a thing tonight," which are lyrics from Ariana Grande's sexually charged song 3435. April 18th, 2021. It's Kourtney's birthday. Travis often spoils her and gave her the most amazing, beautiful flower arrangement, which she posted to her Instagram stories. April 27th, 2021. Kourtney and Travis go on vacation yet again, this time to Utah's Amangiri Resort in Canyon Point. Side note, they just must love coming to my home state of Utah. Maybe I will spot them one of these days. To mark the occasion, Kourt posts a pic of her and Travis engaging in their raunchiest PDA to date. May 5th, 2021, don't be surprised if Court and Trav start sporting bling on their fingers soon, because a source says that Kourtney and Travis are in love and have talked about their future and the possibility of getting engaged and married. Kourtney hasn't felt this strongly about anyone in a while and can see it forever with Travis. The fact that their families adore each other also helps a possible marriage along quite nicely. Although the couple hasn't been together for a while, they've known each other for years and have a strong connection. Kourtney's family hasn't seen her this happy in a while, and they love Travis. The couple's kids get along great, and they have also, been seen a lot together with the kids, involving them on trips and whatnot, so that has made things much easier for them. May 12th, 2021, Kourtney's family is happy for her, but they also are a little bit in shock because they've never seen her like this before. And Kourtney shares a photo of her tattooing the words "I love you" on Travis's arm. May 13th, 2021, more engagement updates about Kourtney and Travis start rolling in, and it turns out that it's a little more complicated than Travis just popping the question. A source said, quote, "Getting engaged and married one day has definitely been a topic of conversation between Kourtney and Travis. Travis would absolutely love to tie the knot with Kourtney, but Kourtney hasn't been sure that's the step she wants to take in their relationship right now. She is extraordinarily happy and doesn't feel the need or want the pressure of getting married. Kourtney's a little hesitant because there are a lot of other factors that concern her if she and Travis marry, one of them being Scott Disick, her ex and father of her kids, and more importantly, her kids and what that adjustment would mean for them. It could be a lot to process. Even though everyone sees that Kourtney is undeniably in love with Travis, Kourtney sees herself loving this moment and is just taking everything one day at a time and enjoying their time together." Now, personally, I think that this is adorable, and it seems like a lot of people would agree, but there is one person who is making it known that she does not, and that is Travis's ex-wife, Shauna Mokler. She reportedly liked a comment that shaded his new relationship with Kourtney Kardashian. A fan of Shauna commented on one of her Instagram posts this week, writing, quote, "That broad don't got nothing on you. Travis downgraded big time." Shauna then reportedly liked the comment, apparently agreeing with the sassy statement. She does not seem to be feeling this or the PDA they've been showing lately. She cast more shade at a recent Instagram post of her ex Travis Barker and his new girlfriend Kourtney Kardashian, while attempting to explain her prior shady comments about the couple. She said, quote, "I'm very much over my ex. It's been a long time. However, I do think some of the PDA that he's doing with her is weird." Mokler also thinks it's strange how some of the new couple's interests seem to be parallel to her and Barker's relationship, saying, quote, "The movie True Romance that I feel like they've been bonding over was the theme of our wedding. She said our daughter's named after the character in the movie. Nevertheless, she says she wishes the couple no ill will and ultimately wants the best for Barker, with whom she shares 3 children. She said, quote, "I'm really genuinely happy for him. I want the father of my kids to be happy and have a partner that makes him happy, and a better father," she insisted. "As long as she's good to my children, that's truly all I really care about." Well, time will tell if these two lovebirds decide to tie the knot. I have a feeling I will be doing an update on this story in the very near future, saying that Travis has proposed and that they're engaged. Again, I think the relationship is really cute, and it's honestly refreshing to see one of the Kardashians dating someone I actually like. I'll leave it at that. Okay, it's time for another break. Stay tuned for Patrick's Pop Culture Pick coming up next.
Golden State Media Concepts bring you Book Review Podcast, a haven for bookworms of all ages and the widest genres, from mystery to memoirs, romance to comedy, fantasy to sci-fi. If you love to read, this is a podcast for you. It's the Golden State Media Concepts Book Review Podcast.
All right, we are back. The GSMC Entertainment Podcast. We have made it to our final segment of the day, which I am excited about. I'd like to quickly recap our last segment. Travis Barker and Kourtney Kardashian have been heating up on their social media pages, and it was a bit hard to tell in the beginning if there was something romantic happening, but it is very clear now that there certainly is. I went over a timeline of their relationship and also talked about how his ex-wife Shanna Moakler feels about the two together. She expressed that she thinks the PDA and that also some of the things they are presenting that seem to be cute moments they created together are in fact things that her and Travis shared in their relationship. And I would say that is a bit strange, but nonetheless, she did go on to say that she does wish them the best, and I, for one, do too. Their relationship definitely is making me a bit jealous. They're so cute. Okay. The Hills Have Lies. I had to. I apologize. That was so corny, but I had to do it. MTV's The Hills New Beginnings returned for its second season on Wednesday. If you're unfamiliar, The Hills is a spinoff of Laguna Beach, which ran for 6 seasons from May 31st to 2006 until July 13th, 2010. Wow, I'm old. Then in May of 2019, The Hills New Beginnings aired, and a few people from the original cast returned, as well as a couple of new faces. The cast members include Audrina Patridge, Heidi Pratt, Spencer Pratt, Whitney Port, Brody Jenner, Caitlin Carter, Justin Bobby, Frankie Delgado, Jennifer Delgado, Jason Waller, Ashley Waller, and Brandon Thomas Lee, who is the son of Pamela Anderson and Tommy Lee. So former Laguna Beach and the original The Hills star Kristen Cavallari, who I love, and I'm so glad she's going to be back on my TV screen, will also appear this season, as teased in the trailer, and socialite and DJ Caroline D'Amour, that would round out the full cast. After a year apart, there is plenty to catch up on. For starters, Audrina is navigating life and the dating world as a single mom. It also kind of teases a potential spark between her and Brody Jenner, as it is revealed that her and Brody had hooked up a few times. We also see Audrina get set up by Heidi with Sean Stewart, who is Rod Stewart's son. And the dates seem to go surprisingly well. They seem to have a good time together, at least. Not sure if there were sparks by any means, but Justin Bobby reconnects with his family and seeks advice from his father about settling down, while Brody and Caitlin are dealing with the aftermath of their separation. And it, of course, includes Heidi and Spencer, also known as Spidey, who are trying for a second baby. And Jason Waller continues to work on his marriage and past substance abuse issues while awaiting the arrival of his second child with Ashley. So season 1 of New Beginnings was a hit with fans for the most part, but it also had some things missing. And some of the reasons are that while it was cool to watch The Hills and see a group of young people who were beginning their grown-up lives, it's fair to say that the spin-off is a better show since the gang is older now. They have more life experience, and so they can discuss things other than who's going to the latest party or event. When fans knew that The Hills was coming back, everyone was curious whether Lauren Conrad, who was arguably the star of the original reality series, would be on the new show. Since she isn't on the new show, that's 1 point for the original. I think that the spinoff could potentially be better if Elsie was on it, since she has such an interesting relationship with all of the cast members, from Heidi to Adrina to Brody, and her presence would bring all kinds of drama. Without her, it's hard not to think that the show feels a bit empty and incomplete. However, thanks to Elsie's absence, perhaps the show is transferring all of the Lauren Conrad, Heidi Montag tension onto Spencer and Stephanie's family relationship. While all families go through rough times, it seems like these siblings have never quite been able to repair the damage that was done years ago. Reality TV fans live for dramatic moments, and The Hills New Beginnings delivers on that front. For that reason, the new show is better since we got to watch these two cast members argue and try to deal with one another. That's why people tune in to this genre of show. The Hills is known for delivering high amounts of drama in every single episode. Since it was on the air for 6 seasons, that's a lot of time for a lot of stuff to go down. Even though fans who get nostalgic can watch any episode and remember that particular scene and get sucked in to the drama once again, the new show doesn't seem to have the same amount of storylines. The cameras seem to film everything simply hanging out at home or getting ready, and that's about it. Maybe this will change with the next new season, but it seems safe to say that the original show is a lot better because there was more going on. Back in the day, everyone on The Hills was concerned about parties, clothing, dating, and having fun. And these days, Brody is married and his wife wants to start a family soon. Heidi and Spencer have a baby boy, and Adrina is struggling after her divorce. The new show feels better since the cast members have real problems. Babies, marriage, divorce, dating and divorce, thinking about the future. These are all big things, and they aren't taken lightly, despite how fluffy the show can feel thanks to the production value. The Hills was a much better show because the quality seemed a lot higher. Fans could settle in and watch a new episode without being distracted by the production value or any strange scenes. It was simply a good show that was entertaining and worth watching. The new show, on the other hand, does have some odd moments that make viewers pause. This takes away from the main drama and is kind of confusing. The chatter surrounding The Hills was about how it was fake, and it was so heavily edited that no one really knew what was the cast's real lives and what was fabricated. And that's a fair point. And it's also fair to say that now that the reboot is airing, we're all used to the reality show genre. Everyone knows that these type of shows have a lot of editing going on, and no one is all that bothered by it. We just want to watch a good show, and the reboot is a fun, guilty pleasure show. Ultimately, The Hills New Beginnings isn't better than the OG show because it makes fans miss the old show. You can't help but compare them, and you're going to prefer the old one. In most cases, a reboot or a spin-off is worse than the original, or at least it pales quite a lot in comparison. However, after watching the first episode of this second season, they do preview the entire season at the end, and I have to say it looks 1,000 times better than season 1. There's already a lot of drama happening with the cast members outside the show as well. They appear to do a lot of partying this season after being quarantined so long. They certainly appear to let loose. Heidi has said, quote, "I felt very judged and mom-shamed because we had just been through a pandemic. We almost lost our business. We had a really hard time keeping employees, and we put all of our own money into Pratt Daddy crystals. It was a lot for us. So balancing that and a toddler and trying to have a new baby, there was just a lot going on for us. And feeling the pressure on and off camera from cast and production, it was just a lot." The trailer for the new season shows the couple disagreeing over trying for a second child. Spencer clarifies that he was just unsure about whether to try for another baby during the uncertainty of the pandemic, saying he was scared by all that was going on in the world. The couple has been trying to have their second child for months now and have yet to get pregnant. And Spencer blames some of the drama they experienced on the show for their conception struggles. He said, quote, "Usually these shows are a lot for us, more fun to film. This is the most stressful shooting of anything we've done. I don't think it's anything to do with anything other than Heidi was so stressed out, dealing with more drama from behind the scenes, on camera, so I think that's why we haven't been able to get pregnant." The couple noticed a significant shift in how they were treated by their co-stars between the first and second seasons of the reboot. Spencer says that he thought the cast was under the impression that he was a secret executive producer for the first season, and once they discovered he wasn't, all bets were off. The couple says they think others noticed that they were portrayed in a positive light the first season of the reboot, and he says, "I don't think anyone on our cast enjoyed that." So they had also mentioned that several times. They didn't think that Heidi and Spencer looking good made much sense, and they were a little suspect about it. Also, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the series was shot in 2 separate chunks, one pre-pandemic and one post. Heidi also said, "Before the pandemic, we were filming for a few months, and then obviously we shut down for almost a year, but the storylines were completely different of everyone's realities they were going through, and then we shut down and everyone pretended like none of that happened. And our lives hadn't changed because we've been the same. Everyone else seemed to have amnesia." I mentioned earlier that Kristin Cavallari is going to be back on the show. She had her own show, Very Cavallari, on E!, but then after the 3rd season, her and her now ex-husband, Jay Cutler, announced their split and they would not be continuing with the show, which is a bummer because I did love that show. But again, I'm very happy she'll be back on The Hills New Beginnings. However, it also looks like there have already been some lies told about her, hence my corny tagline in the beginning of the segment, The Hills Have Lies. Cavallari says fans will be sorely disappointed if they're expecting fireworks between her and her ex. While Kristin Cavallari's arrival to The Hills New Beginnings has viewers very hyped for the new season, she threw some cold water on the hookup rumor making the rounds. Thanks to star Spencer Pratt, the recently single Cavallari denied hooking up with ex-boyfriend Brody Jenner during filming, something Pratt claimed in an earlier interview while promoting season 2. She said, quote, "I didn't kiss Brody, and I hope fans are not tuning in, thinking they are going to see that because they are going to be sorely disappointed. Spencer's doing what he does best, creating some drama, which I could have guessed was going to happen. He straight up lied," end quote. With the trailer for the new season highlighting Cavallari's arrival, her interactions with Brody Jenner were a big talking point during the recent press day for the show. While doing an interview, Spencer claimed, quote, "Brody told me that him and Kristen almost made out on the rocks at the beach." He added he couldn't wait to tune into the show to see how close they got and said, "I think she said kiss me, and he did it." All of that echoes another interview Spencer did as he hoped Cavallari would return in the future seasons because he felt like she and Brody almost started making out on the rocks filming. While we weren't sure just how serious he was being, he said Audrina was also hiding in Brody's car when it happened, and Brody knew Audrina spent the night at his house, so he couldn't kiss Kristen at the time. All Audrina had to say about that was, "There's some interesting surprises in store for all of you guys." Brody also said, quote, "I think we love when Kristen comes around. She's good at what she does. She's been doing this for a long time, and when she comes in, she just knows how to bring the heat. So she filmed a few things, but she definitely stirred up the pot for sure." Brody didn't confirm or deny, saying, "I don't know, did we kiss? I mean, I was pretty tired that morning. I think Audrina and I stayed up all night the night before and the night before that." Okay. If you haven't seen the original Hills or Hills New Beginnings, I do suggest that you start. All episodes are available on the MTV app, and new episodes of New Beginnings come on Wednesday nights. That will do it for today's episode. I can't thank you enough for spending another hour with me while I go over all of the latest pop culture and entertainment stories. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Entertainment Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.